Hi lovelies, and welcome to Mindfulness Monday. We are coming to our senses this month of January and February, connecting to our sensory system. So the sense of taste, touch, sight, sound, smell, and seeing how this constant sensory system of all these senses is always open and cognizing, and we're always reacting, and most of the time in a very unconscious way. So wouldn't it be awesome to get mindful about how we use these senses, to maybe look at the habit patterns we have, and then to see what we could use these senses for in way of enriching our life maybe a little bit more and opening up a few doors and nooks and crannies to spaces we never even thought we could get to with our sense doors. So this week we are studying specifically the eyes as a sense door. And they are a very important, integral sense door on many levels, from gross to subtle. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, from gross to subtle, in theory today, about our eyes as a sense door. And then I'm going to give you some exercises from the gross to the subtle level. So some eye exercises, some yoga asana eye work that you can do, all the way down to some intimate yab-yum connection to your partner and getting juicy and delicious there. We know the eyes are the window to the soul. Okay, you guys, so let's start with the gross, the biomechanics of the eyes and what we're doing and what our habit patterns around that are. We are stuck in the habitual habit pattern, the average human being in modern society, in this, we've kind of created this 10-foot bubble or space in front of us with our eyes, where we don't often look beyond and out beyond 10 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet range of motion with our eyes. And we are also constantly being bombarded by cell phones and computer screens and television sets, this electronic flickering light that's coming at us that's very unnatural for our eyes. And so what that does is that habitual habit pattern creates tension in the eyes, and it doesn't work the eyes in a very effective way. Like they're a muscle, just like every other muscle in your body that you need to work out, so that your eyes aren't getting effectively worked out. And so then the tension builds up in the eyes physically, and then also I'll talk to you on the more subtler level emotionally, but that tension builds up and we're not releasing it. And then also that habit pattern of being so close in makes us lose our ability to focus on different distances. We're like stuck in this one range of distance looking. And so I'm going to give you some asana practices to, one, release the tension in your eyes and help to work it. It's just like any other joint in your body, like your joint in your knees. You want to move and get deep into the bend of your knees, so you that synovial, that oil fluid. And your eyes produce 3 kinds of fluid. I know this because I had a problem with this. My eye wasn't producing like the oil synovial fluid it can produce. It has a hard time producing that. So you got to get in and work your eyes and move them and produce, get that stimulation of those fluids in your eyes. And then also, as you work them out in different ranges of motion and you massage them and you do some of this Ayurvedic yogic work on your eyes, you are also bringing fresh, nutrient, oxygenated blood to a range of where it's so tiny you're not getting a lot of blood flow going through there. So at the gross level, yes. Okay, now let's get a little subtler with this. So our eyes is a sense door. We know we're getting that input coming in. And oftentimes that input is from, we've become accustomed to a lot of kind of negative or even violence or violent in nature things coming in through our eyes as a sense door. So on that level, if we looked at like the concept of post-traumatic stress, so that means post-trauma, you're still stressing about it, right? That's kind of the breakdown of post-traumatic stress. This trauma happened and I can't get past it. I can't move beyond it. I keep going back to that trauma because the body keeps the score. When I see something traumatic and violent, and we've all probably experienced some level of PTSD in today's average society, even if it's just an injury in your shoulder or your knee joint or whatever, and you keep coming back to that injury, and it limits me, and I don't have a full range of motion, and I feel the pain, and we're constantly kind of coming back to that. Well, it's the same thing with your eyes, as allowing that to come into your body, into your sensory system, and literally lodge in your body wherever it lodges in. And every time you come back to that stress, it kind of triggers those emotions in your body. It triggers those sensations in your body. And you really cool on a side note, because I've actually experienced this in some really deep meditative practices and states. I have experienced that the releasing of that physical tension and that emotional tension from your eyes, you can experience it. Your eyes, just like any other part of your body, your knees or your shoulder or your belly or wherever it is that you keep the score, can keep the score too. And what we're doing also there is at that subtler level with just always being bombarded with negativity or violence or whatever it is that's coming through our screens. It feeds into that negative habit pattern of the brain, and it also keeps us locked in this range too. And our eyes can show us so much more beauty and bliss and pleasure and love. We can use our eyes as a sense system to connect to pleasure and beauty and bliss and connection to other people and just connection to nature, to getting out, to looking beyond your 10-foot range, looking beyond that negative habit pattern and seeing, how often do we go out and stare at a sunset or go out at night and stare at the moon or look at a flower? And I mean really look at a flower, eye gaze at that beautiful, intricate patterns, the way the light hits it, the way the flowers open up, that there's so much joy that we can experience with our eyes if we start to look in different places than the habitual places that we're looking at or the ways that we're using our eyes. And then at the very subtle level, we know our eyes are the window to the soul. And I say that kind of flippantly, but really our eyes are the entry point into intimacy, into me see. And once we get over the embarrassment of eye gazing with people, whether it's in the mirror at ourselves when we start there, and then maybe we gaze with somebody we love and trust, and then we start to do a little bit of eye gazing with just strangers, and we start to let go of those layers of embarrassment or fear of intimate connection, and all of those little layers start to melt away. You will find a whole new world of connecting with people that is so much more authentic and intimate and freaking interesting. So much more interesting than this just like tit for tat way that we communicate. So on so many levels, I'm super excited to get into the eyes as a sense story with you, to start seeing your eyes in a whole new different light. So until I post the next video, start to ponder, what are the habit patterns physically around my eyes? What casts or what habit patterns do I do? Do I keep my eyes close range? Do I constantly bombard them with cell phones? Am I going out in nature enough? Like, what am I doing with my eyes? Do I ever exercise them? Do I ever close them every once in a while and bathe them in darkness and give them a massage and bring some synovial fluid to them? Maybe heat them up. Like, what are your habit patterns around your eyes in general physically? And then also, how did you feel about that when I was talking to you about getting intimate? Did that like bring something up in that was like, ooh, I don't know about that. Maybe seeing what happened there with that, or looking at how do you connect to nature with your eyes. So these are some inquiries you can start to do to start to get the juices flowing on this topic, to start to think about where you're at and what areas in these next few videos you may want to play in. So thanks for joining me today. Namaste.